Market fundamentalism should not be conflated with the efficient market hypothesis. You can be an economist working on that hypothesis or with that hypothesis without being a market fundamentalist. Indeed, many economists are bleeding heart liberals, but the efficient market hypothesis has a stranglehold on the teaching of economics in American universities, and that phenomenon can be attributed to the financial support given by capitalists and foundations committed to market fundamentalism. They are also responsible for the encroachment of market values into other disciplines like law and political science. Capitalism is not directly opposed to open society the way Soviet communism was. Nevertheless, it poses some serious threats. I've already discussed one of them. The financial markets are not equilibrium bound, but bubble prone. The dismantling of the regulatory mechanism has given rise to a super bubble whose bursting will negatively influence the American economy for several years to come. This discussion has revealed another threat to open society, the agency problem and the influence of money in politics, which contaminate the political process. In an open society, the political process is supposed to serve the common interest. In contemporary America, the political process has been captured by special interests. Our elected representatives are beholden to those who finance their election, not to the electorate at large. What's happening to President Obama's healthcare and energy bills provides a vivid illustration. The electorate has been brainwashed to such an extent that a responsible discussion of the public good has become well-nigh impossible. A national health service and a carbon tax are non-starters. Our choices are confined to solutions that can be gamed by special interests, such as cap and trade. Lobbying is at the core of the agency problem. How can it be brought under control? This is an ethical issue and not a matter of modifying economic incentives, because lobbying is lucrative and it's liable to remain so even if the rules are tightened. In the absence of moral values, regulations can always be circumvented. And what's worse, the regulations themselves will be designed to serve special interests, not the common interest. This is the danger facing the United States today, when a wounded financial sector is seeking to regain its former preeminence. There is a way to deal with the ethical issue. We need to draw a clear distinction between the economic and political spheres. Market participation and rulemaking are two different functions. Markets allow participants to engage in free exchange. Here, it's quite legitimate for the participants to be guided by the profit motive. By contrast, the making and enforcement of rules ought to be guided by consideration of the public good. Here, the profit motive is misplaced. It's when people try to bend the rules to their own advantage that the political process becomes corrupted and representative democracy fails to produce the results that would make open society a desirable form of social organization. It should be emphasized that this argument directly contradicts the currently fashionable market fundamentalist attitude, which speaks of a political marketplace. How could the political process be improved in an open society? I propose a rather simple rule. People should separate their role as market participants from their role as political participants. As market participants, they ought to pursue their self-interest. As participants in the political process, they ought to be guided by the public interest. The justification for this rule is also rather simple. If in conditions close to perfect competition, no single competitor can affect the market prices. Therefore, individual market decisions have no effect on social conditions, whether or not one cares about the common good. But political decisions do affect social conditions. Therefore, it makes all the difference whether or not they serve the public interest. The trouble is that the public good can't be determined by reference to a generally accepted objective standard. It's contingent on the views of the electorate, but in the absence of an objective standard, these views are easily manipulated. And manipulation is self-reinforcing. The more outrageous the political claims and counterclaims, the harder it is to tell what is right and what is wrong. That's what has made the political process so ineffective in the United States today. By contrast, the market mechanism functions much better. People may not know what's good for them, but profits do provide an objective criterion by which market participants' performance can be measured. No wonder that the profit motive has gained such prominence among the values that guide people's behavior. Not only do profits provide the means for the pursuit of whatever ends people may have, but they also serve as an end in itself, because as a reliable measure of success, they attract other people's admiration and generate self-esteem. Indeed, many successful business people feel much more secure in making money than in using their wealth. The spread of market values has brought immense economic benefits in the course of history. Looking back, Christianity used to treat the pursuit of profit as sinful. This hampered economic development. The Reformation then facilitated the development of markets and opened the way to material progress and the accumulation of wealth. Society underwent a great transformation. Traditional relationships were replaced by contractual ones. Contractual relations came to penetrate into more and more spheres of social life, and eventually relationships started to be replaced by transactions. The pace of change continued to accelerate. It spread up tremendously during my lifetime. The difference between my childhood in Hungary and my adult life in America is quite dramatic. So were the changes that occurred in America between my arrival in 1956 and the present day. When I first came to America, I was struck by how much further market values had penetrated into society than in my native Hungary, or even England, where traditional values and class distinctions still prevailed. Since then, both England and America underwent a further transformation. The professions like medicine and law became businesses. In my view, this has had a destabilizing effect on society, just as market fundamentalism has had a destabilizing effect on financial markets. Now, exactly what level of stability is socially desirable is, of course, a matter of opinion.